All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome, everybody. We're so excited to have you joining us today for Retirement Basics, Best Practices in Retirement Planning with Santa Barbara County Employees Retirement System. My name is Rebecca Bardacos. I'm the Member Services Director here, and it is my pleasure to provide this information to you today and also in the future. This is being recorded so that we will place this video recording of this session on our website for your access in the future. And just also to let you know, while we have disabled the live chatting, we have opened up a Q&A in this recording so that you can put any questions that you have in that Q&A. We'll be transcribing the entirety of that Q&A and providing written responses to everybody as a document that we will have accompany this recording on our website. So we held this session last week in Santa Maria as well as in Santa Barbara and received a number of questions that we've gone ahead and dynamically changed some of the information we're providing here today to be responsive to those questions. So if you participated in one of those sessions and are here today, there might be some extra information for you in response to the questions that were raised at those sessions. So without any further ado, I'd like to go ahead and get us started. We have about an hour and a half here today, and we're going to cover some really important questions that you may be facing as you're looking towards retirement, be that date just months into the future or several years. Today, we're going to be talking about what benefits are available through SBCERS, what happens if you leave system employment before retirement or before you are eligible to retire. We'll talk about what reciprocity is in the event that you have not yet established incoming reciprocity or may in the future across your public service career seek outgoing reciprocity. We'll talk about service purchases and why they are important to your pension account and eventually your future benefit with SBCERS. We'll address domestic relations orders or waivers and how does a change in marital status impact your retirement. And we'll get into the meat and potatoes here of how your pension benefit is calculated. Oftentimes there are misconceptions about when to retire based on age or a certain amount of service credit. I want to demystify some of the factors that are involved in the computation of your pension benefit so that you can understand how it's calculated and how different decisions you make across the course of your career may impact your future pension benefit. We'll also address working after retirement, and we will talk about where you can see benefit estimates. We'll talk about MySBCERS, which is our online portal, and I'll give you some tips for signing up for MySBCERS and actually using it to communicate with us in a secure way and to also see benefit estimates in the future. So let's go ahead and jump on in. The first thing we're going to do is just kind of level set and talk about the context of what we're discussing here today. There are a number of benefits available through SBCERS. We offer service retirements. We also offer disability retirements for both service-connected disability and non-service connected disability. And there are death benefits that are available through SBCERS in the event of an active member death and also when a retiree passes away. We are going to focus today on service retirement, but I did want to point out to you that if you have questions about or would like more information about disability retirement or active member death benefits, those are discussed in depth within our summary plan documents. And also on our website, we have a very robust series of videos and also a disability video on our disability web portal within our website. There's a page for disability where you can find information out about the disability retirement process. And I'll be walking you through some of those resources today as they pertain to death benefits for active member deaths and retiree deaths. But today we're talking about service retirement. There's much to know. So first, let's start at the beginning. Let's talk about what happens if you leave system employment before retirement. So we'll be going through when a member qualifies to retire, but oftentimes members' careers will take them to other counties or to other states, and they leave system employment prior to the time that they are able to pull a pension benefit from SBCERS. What happens then? So I'd like to talk about what happens if a member is not vested and if a member is vested, just so that you can have that understanding. If a member is not vested, if they have less than 5 years of service credit at SBCERS and then they separate, they have options. We notify them of those options after their date of separation is transmitted to SBCERS by the county or other system employer. A member can take a refund of the contributions, those employee contributions and interest that they have paid over the course of those years, be them less than 5 years, or they may choose to leave their funds on deposit and potentially explore establishing reciprocity with a reciprocal agency. They may come back into system employment with the county in the future, or with their plan sponsor in the future, or they can receive a pension benefit based on the years of service that they do have with SBCERS when they are 70 years old. If a member is vested, meaning they have more than 5 years of service credit, they can also take a refund of employee contributions and interest, but they forfeit any future benefit with our system in doing so. They can also leave those contributions on deposit and establish reciprocity with a reciprocal agency or receive a pension benefit on their years of service when they are eligible, very likely age eligible to retire with SBCERS. If a member chooses to establish reciprocity, they must maintain it, otherwise known as not receiving a refund of their contributions, and they must retire from all reciprocal systems on the same retirement date. So we'll get into that because people often wonder, what is reciprocity? Do I have it? Am I eligible? Would I be in the future? So I'd like to just explain what reciprocity is. Reciprocal agreements are both incoming and outgoing. So incoming reciprocity is entering regular service with an SBCERS plan sponsor within 180 days of leaving employment with a California reciprocal system, or outgoing reciprocity is leaving an SBCERS plan sponsor's employment and beginning regular service with a California reciprocal system within 180 days. That's the important date to remember, 180-day break in service. Now, there is a misconception that you must establish reciprocity within 180 days by applying for it and having it validated within that 6-month window. That is not true. The 180 days is the gap in service. The gap in service cannot exceed 180 days. So reciprocal systems include 1937 Act counties throughout the state of California, and there are many. CalPERS employers and independent agencies with CalPERS plans. City of Santa Barbara, for example, is reciprocal to the county of Santa Barbara because the city of Santa Barbara is a CalPERS represented plan. The judge's retirement system is also reciprocal to Santa Barbara County Employees Retirement System, and CalSTRS. CalSTRS is the California State Teachers Retirement System. That covers educators and certificated and non-certificated employees of the California State educational system for kindergarten through 12th grade. So universities are not members of CalSTRS. This means that UC Santa Barbara is not reciprocal to SBCERS. So if you have worked for an agency, a government agency outside the state of California, It's important to remember that reciprocity does not extend beyond state lines. It must be a California reciprocal system. And our reciprocity request form lists all of the counties that are 1937 Act counties as well. So the benefits of reciprocity. You can elect to establish reciprocity regardless of your service or the length of your service. So if you have had membership at another system and you have not vested at that system, you don't have to vest at another system to establish reciprocity with us. Quite the opposite. When you come to a reciprocal system, the service under both systems is used to determine your eligibility for a service retirement. So the cumulative service credit between reciprocal systems is what is looked at by both systems to determine whether or not you have met your vesting requirement. So if you had 4 years of service credit at another system within the state of California, you came to SB County and worked for one of the SBCERS plan sponsors, like the Superior Court, Carpinteria Summerlin Fire Protection District, the County of Santa Barbara, Local Agency Formation Commission, a number of cemetery districts, air pollution control district. If you came to work for one of those employers, which are SBCERS plan sponsors, and the gap in service did not exceed 180 days, you would establish reciprocity, and within 1 year, you would be vested within our system because we would count the 4 years of your reciprocal service as counting towards your vesting requirement with us. Okay? In the new system, in your second system that you go to, or third system, we do have members who have multiple systems in their reciprocal string. In the new system, your age for contribution purposes, the amount that you contribute into the pension system, it may be the same as your age when you entered your original system. So if you were a legacy member in another county, having worked there for many years, and you were enrolled in a plan that was age-based, you may gain reciprocity into an age-based plan here at Santa Barbara. And that would impact the contributions that you pay into the system. We may recognize the age you entered as a member at your first system. Now, PEPRA impacts this because plans that are in effect and have been in effect since January 1st of 2013 are single rate plans, but if you get legacy back to or reciprocity back to a legacy plan, this could be impactful. One of the most valuable assets of the reciprocal salary exchange is when you retire, your highest final average salary under either system is what will be utilized to calculate your benefit at all systems. So what that means is, in the example we spoke of before, if you had service, for example, in Ventura County, and you had 4 years of service credit there, then you came to Santa Barbara and worked 20 years. You've established reciprocity because your gap in service does not exceed 180 days from your last day of work with Ventura and your first day of work with Santa Barbara. It's less than 180 days. Perhaps when you were working in Ventura, your monthly average pay was about $5,000. Okay? But then you come to Santa Barbara, you've left those contributions on deposit, you've established reciprocity, and you've worked a 20-year career here in Santa Barbara. And at the time of your retirement, after 20 years of work here in Santa Barbara, you are making a final average salary or a monthly final average salary of $10,000. Time has passed, you've earned more, and now your final average salary that we will utilize to compute your benefit is from Santa Barbara. It's $10,000. Ventura will also use that $10,000 final average salary to compute your benefit that they will pay you from Ventura on those 4 years of service credit. Instead of computing your benefit for 4 years of service in Ventura with a $5,000 final average salary, they will compute and pay you a benefit for those 4 years of service using that higher final average salary that we have advised them of. So reciprocal salary exchange is probably one of the most valuable assets to reciprocity. So consider it if you are leaving employment from SBCERS plan sponsor and going to work for another agency. That 180 days is a really important parameter to bear in mind. It's also important to know contributions cannot be withdrawn under reciprocity. If you were to take a refund from any one of those systems in your reciprocal string, that breaks reciprocity, and it may change the contributions that you are paying at the next system. And of course, the final average salary exchange would then not occur. And contributions being withdrawn waives your right to a service and disability retirement. So important to know. So service purchases. This is another best practice for folks to bear in mind throughout their career. At the beginning of their career and all the way through to the time that they sign their retirement application, they may lose service credit at some point in time in their career due to medical leave. And at the beginning of your career, you may, before you became a regular member of our system, you may have worked extra help for the county. Or you may have actually worked for the county in a regular position, in a full-time or regular part-time position, and you paid contributions into the pension system, but then you separated and you took a refund. Those are all components of service credit that may be eligible for purchase or redeposit. So extra help time worked prior to your SBCERS membership. A leave of absence without pay for medical reasons. So if you've been out on SDI and suffered a wage loss, perhaps your department integrated you and you received 55% of your customary wages through SDI. And then you received a small portion, maybe 25% through your vacation or sick and then vacation accruals, and then you were unpaid for another portion. You did not receive full service credit during that time. You only received service credit for the leave balances that were paid to you, perhaps that 25% of your customary wages. The rest can be purchased back, and your record will reflect that you have full service credit for those periods when you purchase them. They can be computed for you, and we will add interest. We assess interest twice a year, and the payment of those contributions into our system will increase your service credit. You can purchase service credit for medical leave for yourself. You can also purchase family leave or parental leave. Those are two new categories of leave that have recently been approved by the County Board of Supervisors for purchase. What is unique about those two is that they require not only employee contributions be paid, but that the employee also pay the employer contributions. Our request form for service purchase calculations states the different types of leave that are eligible for purchase, and for those new family leave and paid family parental leave categories, it states the dates that those are effective. Those were prospectively approved. Also, if you've left employment and you took a refund of those contributions and now you've rehired, you can redeposit those contributions. Again, all purchases will require a payment of interest, so that the contributions and interest that reside within our system after you've made your payment are as if the contributions had been paid in real time when that service occurred. So the sooner you do it, the better. And we have a number of payment options that are available. What you could do is fill out a service purchase calculation request form. They're on our website at sbcers.org, and we will provide you with an estimate for when we anticipate that your calculation will be completed. We have prioritizations on the backside of that form you will see, and we will provide you with a computation of how much service credit you were missing or are eligible to purchase and the interest on it. There are different payment options. There are payroll deductions, and so you could write a check, or folks oftentimes will roll the money from their 457 as a purchase of that service credit. Increasing your service credit by purchasing those eligible service periods is something I've never seen a member regret. We've definitely, at the time of our counseling of members for retirement, come across service periods that they've not thought to purchase, and then they decide towards the end of their career, hey, I would like to see what my benefit estimate would look like with that additional period of service, and it's an encouraging thing to see that difference in the benefit estimate, to see what impact it would have on your benefit estimate for your future payments from the system if you were to make that purchase. And I've seen a lot of people go forward and do that towards the end of their career. The issue with that, though, is the longer you wait, the more interest accrues. So coming back from a medical leave or purchasing that extra help time as soon as you can is a best practice for our members, and we're happy to help you. So we're going to take a little pulse check here and just talk about a couple of the items that we've already discussed and what are some of the best practices to be retirement ready if these circumstances apply to you. So if you have reciprocity, it means you vest sooner. It means you may be in a more favorable plan with a younger entry age, and your benefit may be impacted by a reciprocal salary exchange. So the impact to your retirement is a higher benefit, and you may be able to retire sooner than you had anticipated because your vesting requirement has been met sooner. A redeposit. If you redeposit a service period that you had refunded from former years, you may be eligible to retire sooner because it is, again, granting you more service credit. You may be returned to a more favorable plan because oftentimes members are retired to the plan from whence they came. And you have more service credit. So your benefit calculation would be more favorable because that additional service credit increases your benefit. A service purchase. Of course, it means you have more service credit computed into your benefit, and that is a positive impact to the amount that we compute as your benefit at the time of retirement. And then also a domestic relations order, and we'll get into this in the event of a divorce and a domestic relations order being filed with our system. You are either granted a portion of service credit accrued in a marital period and granting it to an ex, or they have granted service credit to you if you are married to a member of our system. So a reduction or an increase to your service credit does impact your benefit. And I will say that if a non-member is granted service credit from your account and that non-member refunds that service credit, you can redeposit it. So let's get into DROs a little bit here. Let's talk about what happens if a member divorces or legally separates. So California is a community property state. So your pension benefit that is earned during your marriage is considered community property, and it is subject to division. So we want to help you with the smooth processing of your benefits when you come to retire. So a change in marital status at any time in your career is a moment to be in contact with SBCERS so that we can help you. So if a member is divorcing or dissolving a California registered domestic partnership or legally separating, that's a court action, they need to notify SBCERS of any change in marital status or domestic partnership. And we will request that you please submit to us a conformed or court-stamped copy of the final judgment, including any marital settlement agreement. This means that if the court does order a division of your account, you will be filing a joinder and forwarding it to SBCERS. That joins us in the proceedings. And then when you obtain your domestic relations order, it will be provided to SBCERS as well. So if an asset like your community property asset, your pension account, is not addressed There is an opportunity to go forward if you've already completed a dissolution of marriage. There is a waiver of asset form that can be obtained through the Superior Court. A waiver of asset essentially says, we forgot to, or we did not include this benefit, this community property asset, my pension account with Santa Barbara County Employees Retirement System, in our original DRO. We would like to include it, and my ex, and the ex signs it, is waiving their entitlement to any of this service credit. So that is something that can be done after the fact, but it does mean going back to court. So if you face a divorce in the future or the dissolution of a registered domestic partnership, or if you face a legal separation, please be in contact with us because that service credit that was accrued during that marital period could be a 50-50 split. And we want to make sure that it is addressed properly within your dissolution. While you can go ahead and retire and sign for a retirement date pending this completion, we're unable to begin the payment process to you and onboard your benefit payments to you until the account is settled. So the sooner the better. We are happy to help you with this process. We have extensive guidelines for DRO A's. A DRO A is a pre-retirement divorce. A DRO B is a post-retirement divorce. We have our DRO A and our DRO B guidelines on our website in the Member Services About My Account section. And we're happy to help you with the process so that when you come to retire, it's already been taken care of. Also, we're unable to change the beneficiary to your account to a new spouse or to a new party until this issue has been resolved. So it's sooner is better, and we're here to help. And we understand that it can seem taxing. That's why we've put together some good guidelines for the process and are here to assist you through it. So now let's talk about when you're eligible to retire. So there are a couple of important dates to know. We're going to get into plan enrollment here in a moment. But first, we're going to talk about eligibility for retirement. Members fall into one of two categories: pre-PEPRA, legacy members who are hired before January 1st of 2013, and PEPRA members who are hired on or after January 1st of 2013. Let's first talk about when you are eligible to retire as a pre-PEPRA or legacy member. You are able to retire as a general member or as a safety member when the following criteria have occurred. Your basic eligibility is age 50 and 5 years of service credit, and 10 years have elapsed since your date of hire, including reciprocal time. Or you may retire as a general member with 30 years of service credit. So let's say you started to work when you were 19 years old. You can retire 30 years later at 49 as a general member with 30 years of service credit. Also, if you are a safety member, you can retire with 20 years of service credit. Or you may retire at age 70 regardless of service credit. So we do have folks that have worked for us in years past, over a decade and a half ago, and they only worked for 3 years. They left, and now they are age 70. They can contact us and pull a pension benefit on those few years that they worked for us in a legacy pre-PEPRA plan. Eligibility for PEPRA retirement benefits. So these are folks who are in our Plan 8 plans for General Plan 8 and Safety Plan 8. These are folks who hired on or after January 1st of 2013, and they do not have reciprocity to a legacy plan. Their eligibility to retire is as follows. General members are able to retire at age 52 with 5 years of service credit. And safety members are eligible to retire at age 50 with 5 years of service credit, and either are able to retire at age 70, regardless of service credit. So again, if they work just a couple of years and then they turn 70, they are able to pull a benefit on those years. So now let's talk about how your benefit estimate is computed and what factors impact your retirement benefit. There are four key terms to know and to be aware of: your retirement plan, your final average salary, your service credit, and your age factor. So let's get into these. First of all, let's talk about your retirement plan. Your retirement plan is the formula that is going to be used to compute your benefit, and it varies by plan and membership category. You are either a general member because you work in an office and you drive a keyboard. If you are a safety member, you are a member of a firefighting crew, you are a sheriff, you might be a probation officer, or you work for Air Pollution Control District. So those are the three different plan groups. And then there are dates of membership that impact whether you are pre or PEPRA members. So a legacy member, again, that watermark is January 1st of 2013. If you joined our system prior to that, you were in a legacy plan or a pre-PEPRA plan. If you joined on or after January 1st of 2013, you are in a PEPRA plan. So each one of these plans is dependent on what kind of work you do and when you were hired to do it. Okay. And each one of those plans has a computation of your final average salary, your service credit, and your age factor that varies slightly from one another. And we're going to get into that. Your final average salary is the final either 1 month average of your highest consecutive 12 months of earnings or your highest consecutive 36 months of pensionable earnings during your career. So the plan and the employment status or work schedule determines whether you are in a 1 year final average salary or a 3 year final average salary. So all part-time FTEs are a 3 year final average salary regardless of their plan. But you may be in a 1 year final average salary plan for a portion of your career and a 3 year final average salary plan for another portion of your career. And we'll get into that. So your final average salary may not always be the last salary you were earning. It could be that you took a demotion, a voluntary demotion during the course of your career, and that's fine. Our system looks across the entirety of your career to find that consecutive portion of earnings that would qualify for your final average salary, either 1 year or 36 months, depending on which plan you're in. Service credit. This is the total amount of your service credit with your plan sponsor and with SBCERS, and this includes purchases of service. So it includes your time that you worked in an extra help capacity. It may include the time that you were out on leave that you have purchased. It may include ARC, which was additional retirement credit. That is no longer eligible for purchase anymore, but it was in former years. And you may have purchased ARC years ago before 2012. So all of that becomes service credit to you. It's important to note that your service credit is not the same as your number of years with your employer. We collect service credit and note service credit for all of your pensionable service within the system for sick, vacation, holiday, regular, and that time is coded to us in the 10th of an hour increment, right? So for every 6 minutes that you work to a pensionable pay code. So when you see your member statement come to you in the mail each February, you may notice that you have 12.13562 years of service credit. We go to the fifth decimal there to capture all that service credit that's pensionable. The last factor included in your retirement calculation is your age factor. So all contributory plans, and those are all the plan 5s, 7, 8, 4, 6 of the safety plans, and Plan 8 safety. Those are all contributory plans. There's only one non-contributory plan, and that plan closed decades ago. This was Plan 2, and you may have some 2 service credit if you were with us back over 20 years ago, but it is very likely that you are in a contributory plan, and we count your age in years and quarter year increments. Your age factor is how old you are on the day of your retirement. So you could retire as soon as you're eligible at age 50, or you could retire later at 62. You could retire at 57 and a half, at 61 and a quarter year of age. There will be a percentage assigned to that age that will be used to compute your benefit. So we're going to drill down into these now. First, let's talk about what are the various retirement plans. This is something that you would again see on your member statement that we send out each year in February. If you are enrolled in MySBCERS, you can find it there as well. And on our website at sbcers.org, we provide a summary plan document for each one of the plans that talks about how your benefit is computed. This is a screenshot literally from Plan 5, and it shows the difference between plans 5A, 5B, and 5C. You can see here when plan assignments occurred in the table on the screen. You can see that General Plan 2, which was that non-contributory plan, started in 1986 and closed in 1994. So it's, I'm sorry, 1999. So it's unlikely that there are many members within that plan. General Plans A, B, and C of the 5 suite, General Plan 5A, B, and C, are all based on your hire date and what plan or what bargaining unit you work in. So you'll notice for 5B and for 5C, there are different bargaining units that are represented. I point this out because over the course of your career, if you are a general member and if you are in a legacy plan, you may have service credit in both 5B and in 5C, okay? 5B is a 1-year final average salary, and I have a table that will show you this. 5C is a 3-year final average salary. What that means is you may have 2 buckets of service credit that will be computed slightly differently. So I just bring this up because oftentimes people, as they move from one bargaining unit to another throughout their career, start to see different plans and start to see different contributions from their account. General Plan 7 is a plan that it covers folks that hired on or after June 25th of 2012 and before January 1st of 2013, but it also captures folks who are reciprocal and have an original service entry age and date that predated PEPRA. So Plan 7 is actually a fairly large plan in that folks who have established reciprocity and who had membership with their reciprocal system that predated PEPRA, they may be placed into Plan 7. And then Plan 8, of course, is for all members who join on or after January 1st of 2013. So each of our summary plan documents is located on our website in the MySBCERS About Your Account section. You can navigate to that screen and select About My Account and see, or About My Plan, and select which plan you are in order to read about your plan there. So here are the formulas. If you've spoken to anyone who's in Plan 5 or you yourself are in Plan 5, you've certainly heard the expression 2% at 57. So on this screen, you can see there is a column for general members and a column for safety members. General members plans 5, 7, and 8, and safety members plans 4, 6, and 8. You will note that there are percentages, an @ symbol, and a number. This is the age factor percentage at a particular age of retirement, the day that you retire. So if you are in Plan 5, though you are eligible to retire at 50, you would receive 2% if you retired at 57. Okay? If you are in Safety Plan 4, for example, you can retire at 50, but you will receive 3% if you retire at 55, and so on. So I like to point out here on this slide what final average salary models are utilized for each plan. On the left, you'll see the 1-year final average salary plans, and on the right, you'll see the 3-year final average salary plans. You'll also note here which plans at the bottom. You'll see that there's a little color indicator here. Half rate plans are in black. Full rate plans are in blue, and single rate plans are in purple. So if you are in general plans 5A or 5B, safety 4A or 4B, safety 6A, or APCD 1 and 2, those are 1-year final average salaries. 3-year final average salaries are generals 5C, safety 4C, safety 6B, APCD, which is Air Pollution Control District, Plan 7 and 8, and our general plans 7 and 8 are all 3-year final average salaries. And again, you may have service credit in multiple plans across your career. So service credit, as I mentioned, it is that total amount of service credit that you have, including purchases for service. And a reminder, you do accrue your service credit for every 6-minute increment that you work in a pensionable pay code. So regular, sick, vacation, holiday. There are a number of other pensionable components of pay that are not time related, but you pay retirement contributions on them for particular allowances. Those contribute to your final average salary, but there's no service credit associated with them. And in this bubble, you'll see a quick tip. Remember that sick leave balances up to 2,087 hours convert to retirement service credit upon retirement. If you have multiple service periods, for example, let's say you work for the County of Santa Barbara for 10 years, you separate, you leave your contributions on deposit, and then in 2 years' time, you come back and you begin to accrue more service credit. That second employment period is going to accrue its own sick balance. Your sick balance from your first employment period will not be restored when you come back, but SBCERS will have taken note of your sick balance on your first employment period when you separated. We will note that number, and then during your second employment period, the sick that you accrue there, when you separate, we will note the sick balance there. Those two will be added together to compute your retirement service credit for sick leave up to 2,087 hours. Okay? So we do have record of it. So here's an example of how service purchases and marital changes impact service retirement. For anybody who has seen a service retirement benefit estimate, this may look familiar. This is the portion of a benefit estimate, and I'll be showing a full benefit estimate shortly, but this is the portion that addresses service credit. So you'll see I've got 2 examples here. The first is what a benefit estimate service credit section will look like when you've completed a service purchase. In this instance, in the first box, you see a General Plan 5A member who has 29.27601 years of service credit. That's time coded to a timesheet across those 29 plus years, okay? The sick leave that you see there, 0.00801, that is a percentage. So it's just a small amount of sick there. It's less than probably, I'm going to guess about 25 hours, okay? Small amount of sick there. Then you see highlighted miscellaneous, 2.43507. That could be one or multiple service purchases. It could be a redeposit, right? That amount of service credit was purchased by the member. And you'll see it is added, all 3 of those components of service, regular, sick, and miscellaneous, are added in that totals field of 31.71919 years. That's the years of service that we will utilize when we compute your benefit. Now let's see what happens when an estimate reflects a division of assets for divorce, granting a former spouse a percentage of service credit accrued during a marital period. So you will see in the second box at the bottom of the screen a safety plan for a member who had 17.41174 years, a small amount of sick, and then you'll see a negative 2.74078. That would represent an amount that was subtracted from that regular amount, okay? So regular is the actual amount of time that the member accrued, and that 2.74078 is, let's say, 50% of about 5.5 years of service credit. Perhaps this member was married for 5.5 years of their career, and they've granted that service credit, half of it, to their ex. You can see that that then reduces the total that we're utilizing to compute their benefit to 14.67112 years. So this is a screenshot from a benefit estimate to show you what that would look like. So before, when we talked about age factors, okay, now we're getting to the last component. We've talked about final average salary. We've talked about service credit. Now we're talking about age factors, okay? Those three important components that build your benefit. Your age factor is the age on your retirement date by quarter year. Here I have a table that shows you when age factors begin and when they stop increasing. So in red, you can see you can retire at age 50 all the way up to age 62 and see a percentage change depending on what age you are on the day that you retire, right? And we've got those benchmarks of those 2% at 57. Now, if you retire at 62, you don't receive 2%. You actually receive 2.6% at 62. Our age factors are all explained, and there's a table of them in each one of the summary plan documents on our website. So you can take a look at that and make some decisions about some different times that might be good to look at. This is a time, this time of the year right now, as we're having this workshop and preparing for COLA, when you see a lot of people retiring. Right now, it is March 12th, and a lot of folks are looking to retire in this month and by the end of this month, because the cost of living adjustment is granted to all folks who are retired on or before April 1st of any given year. So in order to receive the COLA, the cost of living adjustment for retirees on April 1st, you have to be retired by April 1st of that year. Of this year, the COLA is 3.5%. So if somebody retires, separating from duty, their last day worked of March 31st, and their first day of retirement, which is your retirement date, April 1st of this year, they will receive the cost of living adjustment. This year it is 3.5%. And there is a cap for, let's say, a general plan 5 member or anybody except for plan 7 and 8. That cap is 3%. For plans 7 and 8, it is 2%. Whatever the COLA amount is that remains is placed into a bucket as a rollover for future years. That COLA would be received if somebody retired on or before April 1st of this year. If they retired on April 30th or May 1st or June 15th, they would not receive this year's COLA. So folks need to think about their retirement date and think about if they want to retire before the COLA to get it or not. So what happens if somebody's birthday is April 10th? Do they retire for the COLA or do they retire for the age factor. Let's say they're turning 62 this year on April 10th. Well, we're going to run both estimates. We're going to run an estimate for April 1st and apply the COLA to it. And then we're also going to run an estimate for your 62nd birthday and look and compare and see which is a better scenario for you. And it's a personal decision for you when you retire. But this is why many people consider retiring on or before April 1st of any given year, because that begins their retiree COLA career. So we will run different estimates because sometimes the COLA is a better situation and a better benefit to you than waiting for the age factor, but we can run through those scenarios with you. So thinking about your age factor, if a member comes in and says that they would like to be on the beach in Mexico on their birthday, on their 62nd birthday, we will remind them that they may want to consider getting the age factor and actually retiring on their 60s before their 62nd birthday so that they get that age factor. So how your service retirement is calculated. Again, we look at your retirement plan formula. For example, General Plan 5, 2% at 57. We look at that final average salary, depending on what plan you're in. Is it a 12 consecutive highest earnings or 36 months consecutive highest earnings? What is your service credit? Down to the 10th of an hour, down to those 6-minute increments of productive pensionable pay. And then what's your age factor? Are you retiring at 62 and getting 2.6%? Or are you going to 57 and getting 2%, or in between as early as age 50? We can run through different scenarios for you with our benefit estimator. So here's an example of a benefit estimate for you. This is a member whose name is One Plan, Retire at Age 60. So you can see here that we have a General Plan 5C member who has 30 years of service credit and who has about 21% of a year of sick balances. That will convert to retirement service credit. They have miscellaneous purchases for 5.54365 years. So their total service credit is 35.86219 years of service. You can then see below the service credit columns or section, there is a benefit calculation section. So the way our benefit calculator works is it uses the benefit service. It goes to the final average salary for this member. Their final monthly average salary was $7,056. That's what they were making at the highest point in their career. That's our final average salary for Plan 5C, which is a monthly amount. By their age factor, and you'll see this age factor says 1.16. That is half the age factor. It's actually 2.32. And we come to an unmodified benefit of $5,914.76. A very important portion of a benefit estimate to keep your eye on is the section that says percent of FAS. Percent of FAS means percentage of final average salary. What that means is that this $5,914 that is estimated as their unmodified benefit is 63.81% of their final average salary, $7,056. So what that means is that the gross benefit estimate that they may receive may be 83%, almost 84%, 83.81% of what they customarily receive as gross pay, as gross pensionable pay. Okay. So sometimes people say, I would like to work until I'm at 100%. Oftentimes we will find that folks, when they see this benefit estimate and they see that amount and they realize gross to gross, that actually net to net, getting to between 80 and 90% is nearly full wage replacement of their net pay. And we'll get into why that is so. The next portion of your benefit estimate is the payment options section. Once we have an estimated unmodified benefit amount, there are a number of pay options from which the member may select. And we're going to walk through those different pay options here. You will notice that in each pay option section, it will have a total benefit amount and a to beneficiary amount. And we'll walk through what those pay options are. But first, I want to tell you just a few things about your pension benefit. Your benefit payment is a monthly payment. So you are paid for the previous month, so you're paid in arrears, and you pay your health insurance for the coming month. So if you retire on August 1st, you will be paid on September 1st for the benefit you accrued for the month of August. You will also need to pay health insurance for September. Now, when people first retire, oftentimes that first check is going to, or that first benefit payment from SBCERS is going to include insurance that you have already received because we have onboarded you for health insurance effective your retirement date. So if you retire on August 1st, the benefit payment you receive for September is going to pay you for the month of August on September 1st. It's going to take a deduction in that first benefit payment for the insurance contributions you paid for the month of August, for your coverage for August. It's also going to prepay your September insurance. So your first benefit payment from SBCERS sometimes feels a little wonky because it might be a prorated payment if you retired mid-month, but there are two insurance month payments that you are making. By the time of your second benefit payment receipt from SBCERS, your gross to net will look a lot more reasonable and a lot more like what you can expect going forward. So it's important to know that as you're leaving county employment and going into retirement, it's a paradigm shift. You're going from a biweekly payroll to a monthly, and that can be a little startling. So we just like people to be aware of that ahead of time. And also, when you look at insurance prices for SBCERS deducted employer-sponsored insurance, those are monthly rates, not biweekly. So just switching from a biweekly to a monthly paradigm there. Also, your benefit is subject to a different taxation than your active employment pay is. Your pension benefit is subject to federal and state income taxes. That's it. You are not paying FICA. You're not paying Medicare. You're not paying SDI. You're not paying retirement contributions to the system anymore. You're not paying 457 contributions. There are no supplemental insurances that are deducted. If you have AD&D or any other form of supplemental insurances through your county payroll or plan sponsor payroll, we do not carry those over. We are a separate payroll system and we cannot support those. You can port those as a third party with those carriers privately and send them a check, but they do not come out of your pension check and you don't pay union dues. So once people start to realize, oh gosh, I'm only paying federal income tax and state income tax, not having to pay FICA and Medicare and SDI and retirement contributions, which are hundreds of dollars, that swing from gross to net really shrinks down. That's why some folks do feel very comfortable retiring with 80, 85% of their final average salary. So it's important to know what your benefit is subject to for taxation, just federal and state income tax. Other possible deductions are employer-sponsored insurance if you elect it, or any voluntary deductions for Retired Employees Association. There's a Retired Employees of Santa Barbara County Association, which is both a social and an advocacy group here in Santa Barbara County. They're a group that travels together, they lunch together, they educate together about important issues for retirees, and they have fun together. So they go to a lot of Dodgers games. games, they travel to Greece, they have luncheons every couple of months where they gather and have speakers come in, and one of their board members is a trustee on the Board of Retirement. So they're a very active group. If you want to join, they take a $2.50 deduction through our payroll, our monthly benefit payroll to our members who are retired. You can also contribute to United Way or the Firefighters Benevolent Fund if you would like to. And then just a point about onboarding. Regardless of how long it takes us to begin your payments to you, you are always paid retroactively back to your retirement date. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the slide, your benefit as a monthly payment means that we will process payroll on the 25th of the month for payment on the 1st. So the timing of your retirement as you get closer to it is important. We receive a payroll feed from the County of Santa Barbara and from our other plan sponsors every 2 weeks. But it usually comes to us and loads within our pension software in the week that you are paid for it. So, close to pay date. So we must receive that final transmittal of your last pay period worked so that we get that last bit of service credit and that last recording of what could potentially be a pay period that's included in your final average salary period. So that gives us a little bit of a delay because we need to bring that in order to finalize the computation of your final average salary. Then we will onboard you for the next benefit payment that for which we are processing payroll. So if you retire early in the month, it could be very likely that we will get your payroll information by the 10th or the 15th. Working the entirety of a pay period is important because if you don't, though you may have left, I still am not going to get that payroll information until the regularly scheduled pay date, right, for that pay period. So best practice for folks who are concerned about cash flow is to retire at the end of a full pay period that ends earlier in the month as opposed to later in the month so that we can receive that information sooner. Now, that's just for cash flow. It doesn't mean you receive less. It means it takes perhaps a little bit longer to get you onboarded. When you retire, you are always going to be paid back retroactive to your date of retirement. When you retire, we will tell you your onboarding date will be one of two dates, either June 1st or July 1st, right? And that benefit amount would be higher on July 1st because it would be a longer retro for you. But our goal is to get people onboarded as soon as we possibly can. And generally, we onboard people on that first date. So let's talk about payment options. You'll recall on the slide where we looked at benefit estimates, you saw there was a section that said payment options. This is important to understand now. The conditions that may be in place for you when you retire in years to come may be different than they are right now, but it's important to know how these payment options work because when you retire, you elect a payment option, and once you are paid in it, it is irrevocable regardless of what happens as far as choices in your life or for a dissolution of marriage or if somebody passes away. It's important to know the payment option cannot change. So let's talk about what they are. There are unmodified and modified payment options. So the unmodified payment option, it is the most commonly selected payment option. It pays the retiree the highest calculated amount. That is the unmodified amount. We've not modified it in any way. And then when that member passes away in retirement, it pays 60% to an eligible spouse or registered domestic partner or a minor child. A minor child is under the age of 18 when you pass away, and they continue to be paid until they age out, which, depending on their marital status or their enrollment in an accredited college, could be as late as 22, age 22. Now, if you are unmarried at the time that you retire and you select the unmodified payment option, but then later in retirement you marry, that spouse would be eligible for a continuance so long as they are your spouse for 2 years at the time of your passing and they are over the age of 55. So if a member is married and retires and elects this payment option, their spouse that they have been married to for at least 1 year pre-retirement is eligible for that 60% continuance. Should that beneficiary predecease the retiree and the retiree remarries, that second spouse would be an eligible spouse if they are 55 and have been married post-retirement to the retiree for 2 or more years. So a single person who elects the unmodified payment option will want to tell us if they later marry in retirement. A married retiree who chooses the unmodified payment option but then loses a spouse, loses that spouse to death, will want to let us know about that if that beneficiary passes away during the course of their retirement. If they remarry, we would want to know in this unmodified payment option because it's not necessarily a single person, but a qualifying eligible spouse or registered domestic partner or minor child. Okay? So when you look at a benefit estimate, you will see the unmodified and the unmodified 60%. Unmodified is a single member retiring without a spouse. Unmodified 60% means that we already know that there is somebody who is an eligible spouse, registered domestic partner, or minor child. Okay? Now, the modified payment options are a little different. These modified payment options are provided by the SERL, which is the county's employees retirement law, and these offer a modification or a reduction to the amount the member receives when retired as a monthly benefit to them in order to provide some different continuance options. And there are 4 to discuss. The first modified payment option is a cash refund. This is option 1. This is a reduced monthly benefit to the retiree with a lump sum amount of the annuity balance being paid to a named beneficiary if the member passes away. Now, if the annuity balance, which is the employee's contributions into the system and interest, if it depletes prior to their death and then they pass away, there is no cash refund to anybody because that annuity balance has been depleted. I've not seen this payment option in Santa Barbara in the 10 years that I have worked here, but it may be an option under certain circumstances. One that is quite often considered is option 2. This is a 100% continuance. So what happens in this 100% modified option is the calculated benefit is reduced in order to leave 100% of that reduced amount to a named beneficiary. So what's the reduction? Well, it depends. It depends on who the named beneficiary is and the actuarial assumptions regarding longevity for the member and for their nominated beneficiary. So in the first option, that unmodified payment amount, let's say that the member's benefit upon retirement is $1,000. In an unmodified option, that unmodified 60%, that member would receive $1,000, the highest calculated benefit, and in their passing, leave their spouse 60% or $600. Okay? In the option 2, 100% modified payment option, the system will take a look at the named beneficiary's gender and age versus that of the retiree and the spouse. The two will be compared, and a determination will be made through our actuarial tables as to what that reduction would be. Let's say the member's unmodified benefit would have been $1,000, but now their modified benefit would be $800. Under option 2, the 100% continuance, that named beneficiary would receive $800. So it's important to know that if the continuance that is nominated in the 100% continuance option 2 payment option, if that named beneficiary predeceases the retiree, there is no opportunity to elect another beneficiary. That continuance option dies with that continuance. So it's an important thing to think long and hard about. There is a 50% continuance option. That means 50% of the retiree's reduced monthly benefit would be granted to the named beneficiary. And there is also a multiple beneficiaries payment option 4, which allows for payment to a group, maybe 2 or 3 beneficiaries of varying percentages, not to exceed 100% of that reduced benefit. So in option 4, it could be 2 adult children, for example, that are being granted that benefit. So under all of these modified payment options, the risk that comes with that is if that beneficiary predeceases you, there's no electing another beneficiary to take their place. So it's important to remember that your payment option, once paid, it's irrevocable. So carefully consider your choices, discuss it with your spouse, with your family, or financial advisor. You know, it may be that a member chooses the 100% continuance option 2 because they're reciprocal and this is the smaller of their benefits. And their first benefit from PERS, they've chosen the unmodified option. And so for the second benefit from us, they're choosing the 100% of a reduced benefit to their beneficiary. So we'll walk you through these payment options at the time of retirement. Again, what your life circumstances are right now could be different from what they will be at the time that you retire in a few years. We just want you to be aware of what those payment options are so you can weigh them at the time of retirement. So I want to talk also about health insurance because legacy members do receive an offset of $15 for each of their years of service off their monthly insurance premiums. That is not offered to PEPRA members who are in plans 7 and 8, but SBCERS offers the same group health insurance as our employers in 3 rate tiers. There is COBRA and extended COBRA for retirees. There is early retiree without Medicare. And there is retiree with Medicare, which means you enroll in Medicare, but you also coordinate your benefit through Blue Shield or assign your care to United Healthcare or Kaiser in an HMO format and receive additional coverage beyond Medicare coverage. So COBRA in the County of Santa Barbara, if you elect it through your retiree benefit, it is the first 18 months of retirement. Extended COBRA is an additional 18 months, and Extended COBRA is available to retirees who continue to reside within the state of California. So somebody who retires at age 62 may enjoy COBRA and then Extended COBRA until they turn 65 and then enroll in the retiree with Medicare rate tier. Okay. Or if somebody retires at 59 and they're covered by COBRA for 3 years, then they would be in the early retiree rate tier for several years before turning 65. Regardless of what rate tier you are in, if you are eligible for a retiree share of premium, such as the $15 per year of service premium deduction, you will receive it while enrolled in COBRA and extended COBRA for retirees through SBCERS, the early retiree program, or the retiree with Medicare program. And If you leave and decide that you are going to get insurance elsewhere, you would instead of receiving a $15 for year of service offset, you would instead receive a replacement benefit, which is a health reimbursement of $4 for each year of service, and it's deposited to a third-party vendor, which is WageWorks Health Equity. And it works very much like a flexible spending plan. If you have premiums that you're paying out of pocket to an insurance broker, or if you have prescription drugs that you would like to be reimbursed for, that health reimbursement arrangement account can do that. The company Health Equity WageWorks sends enrollees a debit card that they can use at point of sale, or they can sign up for reimbursements. So you receive one or the other if you are eligible for it. We do have retirees that utilize the subsidy for the first 3 years of retirement, and perhaps they've retired before the age 62. So there is a period of time where they would be in the early retiree rate tier. Sometimes they will choose to insure elsewhere. And instead of receiving the $15 during that period of time, receive the $4 per year for those years that they are insured elsewhere. And then they come back when they enroll for Medicare. They then enroll in United Healthcare or the Kaiser plan if they live in Southern California, or back into a Blue Shield plan. They would then receive that $15 offset again. So it's important to know we have an open enrollment process every year. It's an opportunity for retirees to come aboard. That process begins in October. We need forms by Halloween for effective date January 1st. Qualifying events, I cannot stress this enough. Your retirement is not a qualifying event to enroll in health insurance or to change health insurance. So this is a super important point to take away from this recording today. If you are considering retiring, the insurance that you may port through Retiree COBRA is what you have at the time that you separate. You are not able to change your rate tier. You're not able to add dependents that were not on before. It is not a qualifying event. It is entry into Retiree COBRA for exactly what you had on the last day you worked for your employer. So if you are thinking about retiring in this coming year, let's say you're planning to retire in 2026 in June of 2026, this year in October of 2025, when you are attending open enrollment sessions for active employees, you will, in 2026, be an active employee for the first 5 or 6 months of the year, and then you will be a retiree. You'll be making a decision about your enrollment for not just that first portion of the year when you're an active employee, but also that same plan will be what you are porting through COBRA if you elect it. So it's not an opportunity to enroll anew at retirement or to bring your spouse on. So you can only port what you have and who you have to COBRA or extended COBRA. Every year, we publish an open enrollment book and host an open enrollment fair here at our office at 130 Robin Hill Road in Goleta. And we mail out our open enrollment book that is actually on our website as a PDF for both the county and the court plans in the retiree section if you're interested in looking there. You can also see the rate sheets. Again, as a reminder, these are monthly rates, so you may have a moment of sticker shock when you see the rates, but remember they're not biweekly. We are a monthly deduction for insurance, so you'll see it there. You can decline and cancel your health insurance at any time, but come back in at open enrollment each year. So timing and preparing for your retirement, questions to consider: service credit. Do I have any missing service to purchase? Reciprocity, bearing in mind that my highest final average salary is going to be computed. What will my cumulative pension earnings look like, right? You may be receiving 50% of your final average salary from us, but you're receiving 50% from Ventura and 25 from Orange County. What cumulatively does that look like? You'll want to run those benefit estimates with those systems as well. Age factors. Is it worth it to wait for my highest age factor or retire for the COLA, right? That happens every year on April 1st. Final average salary. Did I recently get a pay increase, a negotiated salary increase that's going to impact my final average salary if I stay for a full year, if I'm in a 1-year final average salary plan, or 3 years if I'm in a 3-year final average salary plan? Insurance. What are my needs and what are those of my dependents? And then documents. Do I have my and my beneficiary's birth registration, marriage registration, social security cards? There are a number of documents that you need for onboarding. So just as maintenance tips, as you get ready and as you are using those best practices, remember, if you marry, divorce, have a legal separation or the birth of a child, keep your beneficiary up to date with us. Okay? If you hired regular after working extra help, purchase that service. Request a service purchase calculation form, and you'll find that service credit guideline on our website in the About Your Membership section. If you return to work after a leave, medical, family, or parental leave, that service purchase calculation request form will, once filled out and turned into us, will give us an opportunity to offer you some service credit, possibly to purchase, and we can see how it will impact your benefit. So how do you start the retirement process? Well, first decide on your retirement date or potential dates. You may have 2 or 3 dates that you're looking at. Gather your documents together, like your birth registration, your marriage registration, and your social security card. And I say registration because we do mean the county registered document, not the one from the church or the hospital. Think about your insurance options before your last open enrollment. Read your summary plan document at SBCERS.org. I've shown you some screenshots from those summary plan documents, but they're really great to see what plan you are in, what your age factor table looks like, learn about service credit purchases and the such. Think about those payment options, right? Modified versus unmodified. And there will be other decisions to make, like your beneficiary designations and tax withholdings. And then you can schedule a retirement counseling appointment with your member services specialist and sign within the 60 days prior to your retirement date. Now, you cannot sign your retirement application before that 60-day window, but you sure can come in and talk to us and run benefit estimates and start to gather your documents. Also, you can sign anywhere in that 60-day window. We have had people come and sign on that 60th day out from their retirement date, and we've had people come in and retire just days before their retirement. We're able to help you in either scenario. And also perhaps talk to your employer. Perhaps there's something to know about the plans for the department in your, pending retirement that you may need to know about that might change your date that you'd want to think about. So a note about talking to your employer and confidentiality. We will not communicate with your employer about your retirement date until after you have signed your retirement application. If you come in to meet with your rep and a supervisor or a coworker or anyone were to call and ask us if you've been into our office, we won't disclose that information. We communicate to your departmental payroll administrator once you have signed your retirement application so that they know what your pending date of retirement is and so that they can begin the offboarding process for you. But otherwise, we hold those meetings in confidence. So post-retirement life and account safekeeping. Insurance changes can happen mid-year if there's a qualifying event. Otherwise, as a retiree, you'll hear from us in October about our open enrollment events for January 1 effective date changes. We are a passive open enrollment. So when you're retired, if you have no changes, we don't need any forms. Beneficiary changes for unmodified continuance or your death benefit. If something happens over the course of your retirement as far as a beneficiary dying, we want to know. If you have withholdings changes or direct deposit changes, we just need forms from you by the 15th of any given month so that we can make those changes before the next payment. And if your bank account is compromised, we don't care if it's the day before we process payroll. We want to hear from you immediately. If your bank account gets compromised, we will stop everything to make sure that your benefit is changed from a direct deposit to a check that you can come by and pick up from us if you prefer. We'll work with you on that change. And if you divorce after retirement, that would be a separation that we would consider of the actual dollars that are paid to you. It may need to be divided, so we would talk to you about that. So after retiring, sometimes members will work in an extra help capacity for their employer. And if they do, there are some guidelines to know about for limited duration employment if you work after retirement. So there are rules to post-retirement employment. A retiree may work in a limited capacity for up to 960 hours in a fiscal year. There is, however, a 180-day mandatory sit-out for non-safety members unless it is waived by the Board of Supervisors. Or also, you should know there is a 90-day mandatory sit-out for all members who retire prior to reaching their normal retirement age. Okay. The work that is performed in an extra help capacity by a retiree is generally limited to work performed on an emergency basis or because the member has skills needed to perform work for a limited duration. And these limitations apply regardless of whether a retired member is an employee, as an extra help employee, or as an independent contractor. So a limited duration means that extra help work cannot continue indefinitely. 24 months is presumed to be the limited duration. Under special circumstances, it may exceed 24 months upon written request for an extension, and the employee and the employer must certify that request and estimate the duration beyond 24 months. So SBCERS does monitor to ensure compliance with the law. So we do require a certification of post-retirement employment before post-retirement employment begins. There is ongoing monitoring to ensure that that term is not exceeded. And we do send notices to employees nearing either the 24-month period and or the 960 hours per fiscal year. And it does require a request for an extension in the event that a retiree works beyond that 960 hours those terms. There is a potential suspension of monthly pension benefits and possible reinstatement to active membership if the work is in excess of 0.5 full-time equivalent. So we want for our retirees to enjoy their retirement. We're grateful for the opportunity to help them achieve their retirement goals. We want you to enjoy your retirement and not continue having to work for too long. And lastly, I want to remind all members to sign up for MySBCERS. This is your online portal to access your account information, to see benefit estimates, and a lot more. So active members can sign up for MySBCERS, as can retirees. It empowers you to get all sorts of information and communicate with us in a safe capacity. This is the splash screen for signing up for MySBCERS. You do have to request a PIN, and you will see that there is a request an enrollment PIN right underneath the enrollment PIN box. We will automatically mail you a PIN if you request one by hitting that request a PIN. Once it arrives, you can sign up through our sign in process and use that PIN to create a password. You will be able to choose challenge questions and trust your device so that your home computer and not a public computer is a trusted device. You can access your two-step verification as well so that your multi-factor authenticated login is safe. You can choose to receive it as an email or a text in order to trust your device and turn on your two-step verification. And once you're in, your account is set up, you can take a tour and you can run benefit estimates. This is what our benefit estimator looks like on MySBCERS. What is so wonderful is the system knows who everybody is in your life as beneficiaries. You can nominate your beneficiary just by clicking on their name, and you just have to select your separation date, your payment date, or retirement date is the next day, and you can run as many estimates as you want and save them in a grid or in a table of cards. So if we run benefit estimates for you, we can save them as well to your account so that we can discuss them with you in a Teams meeting or in any way you want to get in touch with us. So I encourage all of our members to be in touch with us to get counseling if you are interested in retiring in the next, you don't have to wait until it's 60 days out. You can contact us sooner. I encourage every member to sign up for MySBCERS so you can start to run benefit estimates and email with us and communicate with us through MySBCERS. So I just want to encourage you all to continue to be in touch with our system, to continue to strive for those best practices in retirement planning, and to continue to participate in our online offerings for education. We'll be publishing more educational opportunities and sending emails out and putting that information in our newsletter. If you've not signed up for it, you're encouraged to do so so that you'll know about upcoming events for education and ways to connect with SBCERS as you look towards your well-deserved, hard-earned retirement at the end of your career. So thank you for joining us today, and be sure to check back to our website for the Q&A of any questions that you may be posting or have posted throughout the course of this presentation. We'll be publishing our Q&A and posting it as well as a video of this recording in the coming days. So congratulations for taking the step towards learning, and we'll talk to you again soon.